Time is the one force in this universe that never stops moving, never stops working, and never asks for permission. It moves forward whether we like it or not, whether we're ready or not. And the most powerful thing about time, it reveals truth. When you step back from someone, when you remove your presence, your energy, your love, time starts its work. It doesn't matter what someone tells themselves in the moment. It doesn't matter if they think they'll be fine without you, because time doesn't listen to ego. It doesn't care about arrogance. It doesn't respond to pride. It only does one thing. It shows what is real. At first, the absence might not seem like much. A day goes by, maybe two. Nothing feels too different. They go about their life as if nothing has changed. They tell themselves they made the right decision. They convince themselves they don't need you. But here's the thing, time is patient. It doesn't rush, it waits. And as the minutes turn into hours and the hours turn into days, something starts to shift. That small space you left behind, it starts to expand. The silence that seemed comfortable at first, it starts to get louder. The things that used to feel normal suddenly feel off. And that's when the realization begins. See, people don't always recognize value when it's right in front of them. When something is readily available, easily accessible, always there, it becomes part of the background. It's human nature to overlook what we think we'll never lose. And that's why stepping back, giving space, letting time work, that's where your power is. Because time makes people notice. It starts slow. Maybe it's a small moment, a familiar song playing on the radio, a phrase you used to say, a random reminder of something you did together. And for the first time, instead of brushing it off, it sticks, it lingers, it follows them. Then as time moves forward, those little reminders become more frequent. They start waking up with an emptiness they can't explain. The places they used to go with you don't feel the same. The people they used to spend time with don't fill the gap. The distractions that once numbed the truth don't work anymore. Because the truth is this, energy doesn't lie. And when you remove your energy, your presence, your love, time exposes what was taken for granted. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes for them to ignore. They start wondering, they start questioning, they start feeling the weight of what they lost. Not because you said anything, not because you begged, not because you proved your worth, but because time did the work for you. And here's the beauty of it all. This process isn't something you control. You don't have to force it, you don't have to check in, you don't have to hope or wait, because time is consistent. It never fails to do what it does best. It breaks illusions. It exposes reality. It creates clarity. And as they sit with that clarity, as they wrestle with their own thoughts, as they realize what they lost, you're not there to fix it for them. You're not there to make it easier. You're not there to soften the lesson. That's why time is your greatest ally. Because while they're just beginning to understand the depth of their loss, you're already ahead. You've already adapted. You've already grown. You've already stepped into a version of yourself that doesn't need validation from someone else's regret. And by the time they fully grasp what they had and what they lost, it's too late. Time has already carried you forward. Time has already worked its magic on you. That's the power of stepping back. That's the power of letting time do its job. That's the power of knowing your own worth. Because while time breaks the one who took you for granted, it builds the one who walked away. Pain is the one thing no one can escape. It doesn't matter how strong someone thinks they are, how much they try to distract themselves, or how deep they bury their emotions, pain finds a way in. It doesn't knock on the door. It doesn't ask for permission. It seeps into the quiet moments, the empty spaces, the nights when there's no one around to keep the thoughts away. At first, it's subtle. It doesn't hit all at once. People convince themselves they're fine. They tell themselves they don't need what they lost. They distract themselves with work, with friends, with entertainment, with meaningless connections. They run from it. They pretend it doesn't exist. But here's the truth. Pain doesn't leave just because you ignore it. It waits, it bides its time. And when all the noise settles, when all the distractions fade, when they're left alone with nothing but their own thoughts, that's when it begins. It starts with a feeling, a weight in the chest, an uneasiness that can't be explained. They go about their day, but something feels off. Something feels missing. They try to shake it, but it lingers. It grows. Then memories start creeping in. The moments they used to brush off suddenly become vivid. The little things, the way you laughed, the way you spoke, the way you understood them in ways no one else did, come flooding back. At first, they tell themselves it's nothing, just nostalgia, just a passing thought. But pain doesn't stop there. It digs deeper. And then the realization hits. It's not just missing someone. It's not just wishing things were different. It's regret. It's the cold, undeniable truth that they had something rare, something valuable, and they let it slip away. And there's nothing more painful than knowing you lost something that can't be replaced. Because here's what people don't realize until it's too late. Not everyone is replaceable. Not every connection can be found again. Not every bond can be rebuilt. At first they might try. They might look for someone else to fill the space. They might think they can just move on. But deep down they know the truth. There's no substitute for what you brought into their life. And the longer they go without you, the heavier that truth becomes. They start questioning everything. Why did they let you go? Why didn't they appreciate you when they had the chance? Why didn't they fight harder? And that's when pain does its most powerful work. It forces them to face themselves. Because pain isn't just about missing someone. It's about self-awareness. It's about confronting the mistakes, the choices, the moments when they should have done things differently. It's about realizing that they can't undo the past, no matter how much they wish they could. And the hardest part, they have to sit with it. They can't run from it. They can't escape it because you're not there anymore. And that's when the true weight of their action settles in. That's when pain becomes their teacher. That's when they start to understand what they took for granted, what they lost, and how deeply they messed up. And the lesson? It's not gentle. It's not forgiving. It's not something they can unlearn. Because pain doesn't let people walk away unchanged. It leaves its mark. It carves the lesson into their soul. It forces them to grow, to evolve, to acknowledge the truth they once ignored. And by the time they fully grasp what they lost, time has already moved forward. They've already paid the price. And no matter how much they wish they could go back, pain ensures they never forget. Too often people give their power away. They chase, they beg, they try to prove their worth to someone who doesn't see it. They lower their standards, they shrink themselves, they overextend just to be seen, just to be appreciated, just to be chosen. But here's the truth. You are not meant to be chased, you are meant to be valued. The moment you start chasing, you give the other person all the control. You tell them, I need you to see my worth because I don't fully believe in it myself. And when you do that, you hand them the ability to decide whether you are enough. But let me tell you something right now. Your worth is not up for debate. It is not something that needs validation. It is not something that disappears just because someone fails to recognize it. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop waiting for them to come around. You stop hoping they'll realize what they have before it's too late. Instead, you step back. You shift your focus. You become the one who decides who is worthy of your time, your energy, your presence. And the moment you do this, the dynamic flips. Because when you walk away from someone who took you for granted, they don't just lose you, they lose the version of themselves that existed when they were with you. They lose the way you made them feel. They lose the comfort, the support, the energy you brought into their life. And suddenly they're left with a void they can't fill. They try to move on, but something feels different. Something is missing. And that's when the realization begins, they weren't the prize. You were. See, people don't always notice what's in front of them until it's gone. When something is always available, always accommodating, always there, it becomes easy to overlook. But the second it's no longer within reach, that's when the regret starts to sink in. They remember the way you uplifted them. They remember the way you understood them in a way no one else did. They remember the way you made them feel like the best version of themselves. And the more time passes, the more they start to realize they didn't just lose you, they lost the best thing that ever happened to them. But here's where most people make a mistake. They go back, they see the regret, the pain, the longing, and they return hoping things will be different. But nothing truly changes unless the foundation shifts. And that shift only happens when you refuse to settle for anything less than what you deserve. When you embody this truth, when you own your worth, when you stop chasing, when you position yourself as the prize, everything around you changes. The energy you carry changes, the way people see you changes, because confidence is magnetic, self-respect is attractive. And someone who knows their value doesn't have to convince anyone of it. And when they realize they can't just walk back into your life on their terms, when they understand that they can't manipulate, breadcrumb, or string you along anymore, that's when it hurts. Not because they lost a person, but because they lost the opportunity to be with someone extraordinary. There's a moment after loss where people stand at a crossroads. One path leads to bitterness, resentment, and the need for revenge. The other leads to self-improvement, growth, and the kind of transformation that turns pain into power. Too many people get stuck in the first path. They waste their energy wondering, does he miss me? Does he regret it? Will he come back? They stalk social media, analyze every move, and let their emotions be dictated by someone else's actions. But here's the truth. The best revenge is never about proving a point. It's about proving to yourself that you never needed them in the first place. Because real revenge, it's not about making them feel bad. It's not about showing them you're better off without them. It's about actually being better off without them. So much so that at some point, you don't even care whether they notice or not. And that happens when you shift your focus entirely. Instead of obsessing over what they're doing, focus on what you're becoming. Instead of replaying old conversations in your mind, start having new ones with people who actually uplift you. Instead of questioning why they didn't see your worth, start living in a way where your worth is undeniable to yourself first and foremost. Because here's the reality. They will notice. Maybe not immediately. Maybe they'll be too caught up in their own distractions to see it at first. But one day they will. One day they'll look back and see the person they once had, the person they didn't fully appreciate, has evolved into someone completely out of their reach. And when they do, the pain will be deep. Because nothing stings more than realizing the person you underestimated became everything you ever wanted, just not with you. They will see you glowing. They will see you thriving. They will see you stepping into the kind of confidence, success, and happiness that doesn't leave room for their regret. And that's when they'll feel it, the weight of their mistake. But by then it won't matter, because your focus won't be on them. Your focus will be on your new life, your new goals, your new mindset. And that is the most powerful thing you can do, not just to move on, but to transform into a version of yourself that is unstoppable. Because when you truly commit to growth, when you make it your mission to become stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled, nothing from your past can hold you back. Not rejection, not regret, not even the deepest heartbreak. And that's the real win. The real revenge isn't about hurting them. It's about healing yourself so completely that their absence becomes irrelevant. Because the moment you shift from why did they do this to me to what can I build from this is the moment you reclaim all your power.